developments in technology, social media, all of these things drive a certain momentum in international relations, with the additional fact of what we call non-state actors. International business, non-governmental organizations, even nefarious cartels are non-state actors. They answer to no state. In fact, the Westphalian concept of the nation-state is in question. Because if you're going to join in a union, as in the European Union, you have to, presumably, give up some of your independence. Guess what? Scotland was too tired of being with the United Kingdom and will be having a referendum on whether it remains in the United Kingdom or not. When that if that crack materializes and becomes seismic, guess what? Wales might feel the same way. And who knows, maybe Cornwall. When you go to Cornwall, down at the tip there, down here, you might find an independence movement for Cornwall. This is the vociferous tendencies that I say, the splintering the Chinese call it. That's one of the reasons why the Chinese are very skeptical about Tibet. I fought a war in the State Department and lost to have the Dalai Lama meet with senior officials in the State Department, because the China policy was not, you had to walk a thin line of not irritating the Chinese while speaking on behalf of the humanitarian rights of the Tibetan people. What has this got to do with Obama? This is what Obama is facing, all of these complexities in the world. As he tries, he says he's swimming in rapids now. You heard his speech, right? I'm deep in these rapids of American history. He has to ride through these rapids domestically with the obstructionist Republicans, the midterm elections, right? And also these shifts that are coming internally in many countries, threatening them as nation states, nefarious operators across borders, and dictators. Africa has 15 or more dictators who have been in power for more than 15 years. President Obama is accused, here is another one of his hurdles, constraints, he's accused of, what has he done for Africa? George Bush did a lot, for AIDS, malaria, infectious diseases, AIDS, and so forth. Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton. And all my African friends, they catch me in an alley in New York City and they beat me up by saying, your president is not doing anything for us. Barack Obama, in my estimation, and I'll ask Philippa later on, she just started yesterday, but Barack Obama believes in self-reliance. It's an old-fashioned word, right? He doesn't believe too much in aid, assistance. He will help you out if you're trying. He believes in people trying to fathom for themselves and carve out their futures, and with the disabilities or the problems, help them get on their feet. I think that is his philosophy. It's not articulated the way I do, but I have discerned it. So what does President Obama have in his quiver, his tools, in order to fathom and ride out and make a lasting imprint? That's my last theme. For him to make a lasting imprint of his legacy for the betterment of the world and the United States' position in the world. And he believes that the United States should continue to be a major power in the conduct of relations in the world. But he believes also in the interconnectedness of all of us today. Obama now, in trying to ply the turrets, told us, gave us a forewarning when he was a candidate. He said, if bin Laden is believed to be hiding out in any country, and he has, quote unquote, actionable intelligence, the very, very evocative term now because of the NSA, and I'll talk to that in the drones in a moment. But if he has actionable intelligence, he will go in and get bin Laden. He promised that when he was running for office. He went in and he told them after the fact, as he was doing it, that we're getting the man, which he did. He forewarned the international community, in addition to, of course, America, that he, in his departure in foreign policy techniques and relations, he would meet, consult with, at appropriate times, with adversaries from a position of strength. You know, the opposition said, oh, if you go and talk to Ahmadinejad or somebody like that, you engage him, you are weak. And Obama responded aptly. He said, I'm going to speak to these people when it is in the judgment of his judgment and his staff and advisors, when it's good to do that. The issue at hand is this, that timing is a very important thing. And it is said that President Obama is too deliberative before actually taking actions, too cautionary, too reflective. But I think, as I wrote in one line of the paper, I think that when they criticize him for these things, when he acts, it's usually right. So what the hell does it matter? Why does it matter anything that he took some time if, in fact, he accomplished what he said he would, or what he deliberated over? So I'm saying that as he goes through these very complex tidal waves and rivulets and so forth, he has to find his way to assure that the United States has its position in the world, but the world, to quote him, is a better place to live for mankind. Now, that's a visionary notion, and most people think of Obama as being very pragmatic. You know, this dichotomy between being transactional or transformational, it's part of the conversation. But if you look carefully, that he's a pretty pragmatic guy. He might be reflective, but when he reflects and makes a decision, it's a pretty practical decision. We're going to get bin Laden, and that's it. Not much discussion anymore. Cut the discussion, action. So as he moves through these turbulent waters, he has to do about three important things, in my mind. He has to have a very reliable, competent staff. And not a staff that's overzealous and unwilling to tell the boss you're going down the wrong track. I think Obama is some people say is a bit thin-skinned. I don't know that to be the case, but I think he is willing to take advice. It doesn't mean, as Bill Gates tells you in his thick tome that I brought for my friend, it doesn't mean that he's going to appreciate you reminding him that he's not, on top of it. Or he might call, as Gates said on television, calls on a junior aide with august members of the cabinet and the National Security Council. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the head of the CIA, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all of these people. And Barack calls on some of his aides and more junior, and he sided with them. And of course, this didn't make Gates so happy. So he's a guy who, in my impression, the is compelled by logic. But logic is not enough, because you have to understand causality and what are the scenarios to bring about a certain outcome. Intervention, as we mentioned before, you have to, I think it was Colin Powell who said this, you have to have an end game. You have to see what is ultimately there and what is feasible and what is, in terms of probabilities, likely to enable you to be successful. You can't go in about nation building and regime change and surgical strikes and all unless you have calculated these things. So what Obama has done now is that he has looked at the world, and he and other leaders and seen what they call a change in the center of gravity. Something Newtonian, it sounds like. And the change in the center of gravity is the Asia-Pacific region is now Asia-Pacific over here. Where is this thing? Oh, it's further over this region of the world. And I think it, of course, when it says Asia-Pacific Rim, it really incorporates India. And so this area of the world, not only for demographic reasons, not only for manufacturing opportunities, not only for export opportunities, a whole host of things. This part of the world is seen by President Obama as the area of prime importance in this change in the center of gravity. What does that mean for the Europeans? The Europeans are longtime allies, the Western Europeans, are longtime allies of the United States. Will they feel somewhat shunned? Well, my wife tells me no, because they'll be out there trying to compete for those markets too, right? So this is now the new center. Two other neuralgic areas of the world are in the Middle East and, of course, maintaining our relationship, as I said, with Europe. And that relationship with Europe goes into the national security area, and that is the role of NATO in this period of history, because you remember NATO was a competitor with Warsaw Pact. Of the Soviet Union, Warsaw Pact was abandoned, NATO continues. And NATO now is in Libya and in Bosnia and various places, right? They're called coalition partners, right? So what is the utility of NATO? So guess what NATO is doing? NATO now has cultural anthropology embedded in the training of military officers at a certain rank. They give extensive language training. So if you're a major or whatever and you have a bright future in the military, you might have to go and learn, as I did, Serbo-Croatian for a year, 5 hours a day, 3 hours homework a night, with tests every month. You know, so you can imagine a military officer who was a bomber pilot in Bosnia and said, now we're going to turn you into a social anthropologist because we're going to send you out to Afghanistan. And this is what's called soft power, public diplomacy. We're going to win minds and persuade people that there is a world that's better than the one we have and we can all work towards it. So you got to read, people I used to read years ago, you cannot imagine. Levi-Strauss or something like that, Evans Pritchard. So, Radcliffe Brown. So this is where these people, where the military is. And Gates was one of the big proponents of that. And we have friends who are civilian professors teaching at the military, and they're calling us about books to read and things like that for military officers. So it's a changing reality with regard. And Obama said he wants a lean and efficient military. Guess why? The Pentagon might be fighting a battle now, as they have been winning all the time, against we diplomats. Because we're always asking for money from the budget. And we get, you know how much money we get from the budget? We, the State Department, the Foreign Affairs community, we get the same amount that the Pentagon, the military, get for entertainment of their troops. It's scandalous. And when you hear people on Capitol Hill say, oh, the only solution is a diplomatic solution, you hear them all the time. It's verbiage, because when it comes time to allocate monies to the various departments, they fight against us, saying that we are cookie pushers or whatever you want to say. When I was in Bosnia, parenthetically, I never knew a Wednesday from a Sunday.